applicant on behalf of the owners who will do a presentation, and then if there's anything else that needs to be provided to council, I'll do that after the presentation is made, just so that we're not duplicating information.
Thank you very much, Mariana, and I'll turn things over to Jeff Guzman from Van Harten Surveying to make a presentation on behalf of the applicants. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you. I trust everybody can hear me. Is there any chance to have that the sketch on the screen, or is that inconvenient?
It's all good. You're not inconvenient at all.
Great. I'm a pictures guy. I'm a surveyor guy at heart, so I love pictures. Fundamentally, Marianne has explained the application well. This property's been an old convenience store for a long time. It's in poor shape, and the building's in poor shape, and the business is not financially viable, so they want to put a new dwelling. This plan shows the location of the dwelling, how it's going to be set up, and geared for an accessory apartment. This is the rough dimensions of what the owners are thinking of putting in. I think it's pretty straightforward. It will fit in with the development well. To the rear is vacant land condo 238, which we know as Heritage Square, a relatively new development. And also along this street have been a number of houses and infill parcels that have happened over time. I'm really here to answer any questions or deal with any comments that people may have. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Jeff. There are no delegations registered to speak to this application. And now, is there anybody else that's on the line that wants to speak to this application? I don't think we do. Okay. So I'll turn it over right now for questions from council. Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is for Jeff and perhaps Mariana. The building, this said building, Homer's Old Store, is located square on the edge, probably, of the termite zone. And my question is there any requirement to deal with the construction debris in a way that is effective for the control of the spread of termites? Is that something we can do? Mariana and Jeff, maybe you've considered that already. We all know we dealt with this on Monday, the termite issue, and this property is right on the edge of it, backing along the former railway track, which probably was a vector for the termite infestations. Thank you, Mayor. That's my question.
Yeah, Marianne, if you want to speak to that, we're talking about zoning today, but if you want to speak to anything that comes out of that question.
Sure. I think basically that would be dealt with under the building permit requirements. So they would be trying to demolish this building, so they would apply for the demolition permit, and that would likely be a condition that would be included in the demolition permit in terms of proper disposal of that material.
Right.
Councillor Kitchus?
Thank you, Mayor. I have two questions. My first question is, does the applicant live at the present property, and are they looking to redevelop it for themselves? Number one. And the second question is, it's about the strategic plan. During the strategic plan, we had said that we would be, this is for Mariana, we said that we would be encouraging commercial residential. And I'm wondering whether that has not been considered here.
Yes, thank you. Through you, thank you for the question, Councillor Kitchus. We did speak at length with the owner several times before this application was made, because of our concerns about converting this commercial property, which is difficult to get commercial zoning in a residential area. So we did speak at length with the owner about different options in terms of trying to allow, they are interested in having an accessory apartment for some income. So we looked at options and trying to allow an accessory apartment as well as redevelop the site for their own purposes, for their own dwelling. And they do, as far as I know, in the past, they were living on site. So yes, they do reside on site and are looking for some additional income because the commercial use was not sustainable for them. So basically what it came down to was that they felt the need to, their residential need was greater than maintaining this commercial use. And it just wasn't viable with all of the commercial that's basically been developed around them with the larger scale commercial retail facilities just up the street, mostly on St. David, that they're not finding very much traffic coming to this site anymore. So after exploring many options, what they decided is they would prefer to have this as zoned fully residential and then operate maybe a small scale home business, which is permitted under our home occupation regulations, rather than have this as a commercial property that has the tax implications associated with it as well as a commercial property. So I hope that answers your question.
The other, I think there was one more question about who's going to be living there. I don't know if you know that answer.
Right.
Yes, as far as I know, and maybe Mr. Buseman can speak to this as well, but as far as I know, the owner is living on site, is looking to add the residential unit for a new tenant for rental income. And so it is the owner that's living on the site.
Rashmi is on, I think Rashmi is on the line as well. I don't know if you want to answer the question about your residency, if you live there now or not.
Sure, Rashti, if you wanted to answer that question, that'd be appropriate. I don't know if you can hear. You're on mute right now, so if you can take yourself off mute. Yeah, he might. He's not either. He's not there, or he's on mute. Anyway, I think it was answered. Oh, there he is.
Hello.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello. Yeah. Did you hear the question?
Yeah. Can you repeat again?
Yeah, they were wondering. One of the councillors was wondering if you were going to be living in the house after it was changed up.
Yes, I am going to leave.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from council? Councillor Kitchen?
Can Marianne explain what C3 neighborhood commercial means? Does that mean there can be 3 units there?
Thank you. Through you. Thank you for the question. No, it just, it's the zoning designation that is called neighborhood commercial. So it's meant for small scale commercial use that would allow mostly like a convenience store, small scale restaurant, things of that nature. C2 would be highway commercial and C1 is central business district. So it's not, the number is not the number of units that would be permitted, but it's just the zoning designation in terms of an order.
That's Citrus.
Thank you, Mayor. How many units would be permissible here in this C3 neighborhood commercial?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Linton. Is the question in terms of how many commercial units?
No, I was wondering if, you know, the commercial residential thing that we were talking about as a strategic plan was that there could be commercial, but you could have residential on top. So because this is the C3 and it's not on a highway or the C1, which is in the main district downtown, So how many units can be on this property and retain still the commercial?
Thank you, through you. Well, basically the entire main floor has to be commercial. So they can have residential above, and that was again one of the options explored, is that can they not just live above and maybe have a residential unit, the accessory apartment in the basement, and have the main floor stay strictly commercial. And they didn't want that. They thought that that was still far too much commercial space for them. And if they were going to have any commercial unit, it would be only in the garage portion or an area similar to the size of a garage. So in exploring all of that with them, it was determined that it functions better for them to operate any kind of a commercial use as a home occupation and have this as just a residentially zoned property. The commercial use on the main floor was not viable for them on the entire main floor, and that's what would be required in the C3 zone. They wouldn't be able to have any residential on the main floor.
Councilor McElwain?
Thanks, Kelly. Mariana, you mentioned that the building was in poor repair or needed some repair anyhow. Is there an intent to do any kind of tear down and rebuild, or is it completely just reuse what's there today?
Thank you. Through you, no, it's exactly, it's that they want to demolish, so remove the building in its entirety and then reconstruct because it's in very poor shape. I think they've explored, there has been work done on it and a large addition put on it, and I think Mr. Buseman can explain that a little bit further, but I know that today, as it stands, it's in very poor shape, all of the entire building, and that's why they want to demolish it in its entirety.
Councilor Dunsmore? No, you're just, you didn't have your hand up?
No, I did not.
No, I think you're just fixing your hair. Councilor Van Leeuwen, anything? Councilor McCray?
I have no questions.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from council? Councilor Foster?
Thank you, Mayor. My question is for Mariana. I believe it's part of our strategic plan to have neighborhood commercial. So the real issue here is, should we allow this neighborhood commercial property to no longer be used for that purpose? The viability of an old store shouldn't be part of our discussion. I think the issue here is it a good thing for our community to have a neighborhood commercial that people can walk to? So Mariana, am I right in saying that having neighborhood commercial is part of our strategic plan? And is there merits to maintaining it? A new building with a commercial store on the main floor might suddenly become very, very viable. A nice new store, new square footage, new coolers, etc. There's my question, Mariana.
I don't think it's really a question for Mariana. I mean, we know it's in our strategic plan that we want to push ahead with commercial where it's viable. The question is, for the last few years, it hasn't been viable. So I think there's no real answer from Mariana that's required here. Neil, did you have Councilor Dunsmore?
Yeah, I was just going to mention the same thing. This family has run this business best they could for the past number of years, 10 years that I know of at least, and it's not been a viable operation. And now they want to do the best they can with the property. And I understand that we want commercial and residential combined in a neighborhood, but if they're not able to make money at it, we can't strap these people and make them hang on to a business or build a building for a business. It isn't going to be viable. And that's the bottom line here. And I think we've got to give them the opportunity to have a home.
Jeff?
I appreciate the comments. If I look just down the road, there's significant malls and so on. You can't compete with those big stores and what's down the road. If this was, the only reason this property is commercial is because of historic use. If this was going through zoning review and, looking at a fresh look of all these lots, you would you would never pick a house in the middle of a block to be a commercial store. It's really, suited for residential in my mind, and it'll fit well, I think. I do appreciate the need for commercial at the appropriate corners and so on, but this is not the greatest place in the world, and financially it's not. Thank you.
Anything else from council? Councilor Kipnis?
I think us deciding that a retail store or convenience store is the model for this kind of commercial area. It's just, commercial is very broad. There is a great trend right now in Montreal and Vancouver to have neighborhood pubs in their little neighborhoods, and they have to convert residential to commercial. And so this is one where, even at commercial, it could be easily offices. We have offices downtown, lawyers' offices, etc., real estate. So it's really about, do we want to have these residential commercial areas that historically was, and in terms of renting space, there's a shortage of rental space. So my view is I think that we should try to retain this. I realize the resident wants to put they want extra income. That's why they're putting the extra apartment on there. So for us to change the zoning because the convenience store doesn't work is not it's not the only consideration here. And I just have to say that I probably will oppose this.
Anything else from council? Okay, given this is a public meeting, no decisions are being made at this point. Council is just for information only. So at this point, I thank everyone for attending and advise that council will be considering a bylaw at a future council meeting. And I declare this meeting closed. Thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you very much to the applicant, and thanks, Mariana, for bringing this to us right now. And, this first meeting is over, and we'll get going to meeting 2 in a second. Okay, so we'll call the second public meeting to order and ask if there's any declarations of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act with this agenda. Purpose of this meeting is to present and receive public input regarding a proposed zoning bylaw amendment on subject lands known as 450 Forfar Street East in Fergus. The purpose of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is to change the current zoning from R1B residential to R2 residential. The effect of the amendment is to permit a semi-detached dwelling. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Center Wellington before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Township of Center Wellington to the local planning appeal tribunal, LPAT. If a person or public body does not make oral submission at the public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Center Wellington before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the LPAT unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. If you wish to be notified of the adoption of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, you must make a written request to the clerk of Township of Center Wellington, 1 McDonald Square, Elora, Ontario, N0B1S0. I'll ask the clerk how notice was given.
Notice was mailed to prescribed persons, agencies, and public bodies on July 9th, 2020. A copy of the notice was advertised in the Wellington Advertiser on July 9th, 2020. I can therefore confirm that the giving of notice was completed on July 9th, 2020.
Thank you very much. And now I'll introduce, I'll turn it over to Mariana again to make the application before you today. Mariana.
Thank you, Mayor Linton. So the subject property at 450 Forfar Street East, just a little further east down the street here, is the subject of this rezoning application to change the zoning from R1B residential to R2 residential, with site-specific provisions to allow a slightly smaller lot width, reduced side yard setback, and an increased driveway width. The property is located just east of Zowski Street and is on the south side of Forfar Street East. It's surrounded by semi-detached units to the north and west, single detached units to the east, and backs onto a 3-story apartment building on Douglas Crescent, which is currently being constructed. It's designated residential in the official plan, which allows a range of residential uses, including semi-detached dwellings. The owner proposes the zone change to allow 2 semi-detached units in order to increase the supply of available housing. The school board has provided comments with no objections to the rezoning, and no other comments have been received to date. And again, we have the applicant that will be making a presentation, and I can fill in any gaps of information there if there's anything missing.
Thanks very much, Mariana, and I'll turn things over to Rob Strome. Welcome, Rob.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council and staff. This is a pretty simple, straightforward application. It's just to allow for a semi-detached dwelling. And the reason why I've asked for some exceptions on the bylaw is just because the existing house is a bit cockeyed on the lot. It's not perfectly centered. And my hope was to be able to renovate the house as opposed to tearing it down and starting over again. And it resulted in a slightly smaller lot area. I think it's like 18 square feet smaller. So not a lot. And there's a lot of semis in the area, and I didn't think it was out of the ordinary to put one there. And I'm trying to work with our family to develop, I guess it wouldn't be defined as affordable housing, but it's closer to affordable housing as we can get. And I'm just hoping that you'll see the merit in it. So I'm here for any questions.
Thanks very much, Rob. No delegations are registered for this. Is there anybody else on the call here that is here to speak to this application? I don't think so. Okay. So turning over to questions from council. Council? Councilor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor. A question for Rob. Rob, is this the intention for the 2 new units? Will they be occupied by you or members of your family, or will this be a rental property?
Well, my daughter lives there now. And during COVID, my other daughter lived there. So we are hoping that our daughter will stay there. And we are hoping that maybe another member of the family would occupy the other unit. But as with life, things change pretty quickly. If one of the members of the family didn't live in the other unit, then we would either rent it out or sell it.
Okay. Thanks, Rob.
I was going to ask the same question.
Okay. Any other questions from council? Okay, again, no decisions are being made at, Council Foster?
Thank you, Cal. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, one last question, if I could. If this property is divided, it'll have two lots. I'd like to know what size will the two lots be, frontage and depth, after they're created? Rob, I'm not sure if you have those figures in front of you.
The planning report that we prepared set it out. You think I would have read it recently? I think the one lot, it's in.
I can help answer that.
It's in square meters, so I want to talk to. Oh, can you help me on that one?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, go ahead, Mary.
If I may. So one of the lot is 18.3 meters, 60 feet wide. So the unit on the, let's say if you're looking at it from the street, the unit on the right, which would be the new unit. So it would be 8 meters wide instead of what's required in the bylaws 9 for a semi. So it would be 26.2 feet wide. And then the other unit, which is the existing house, would be 10.3 meters wide and 33.8 feet. Does that help?
Yeah.
Sure helps me.
Foster?
Thank you, Mayor. Mariana, just further eastward on Forfar, do you happen to know there's several semis easterly from there? Or can you tell me the lot sizes easterly from there of the various semis on Forfar?
Yes.
On the south side?
Thank you. Through you, I don't have those sizes in front of me, but if I'm looking at just the few that are just to the west, they look to be, I would say probably about 11 to 12 meters wide each. I could be wrong, could be a little bit less. They look to be in keeping with the 10.3 side of this unit.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Mariana.
Anything else from council? Okay, well, thank you very much. Again, we're not making decisions tonight. It is a public meeting, so thanks everybody for attending. And I'll advise that the council will be considering a bylaw at a future council meeting. Again, thanks for coming out, and I declare this meeting closed as well. And that's a wrap, right? That's an adjournment. Motion to adjourn, Councillor Kittrus, Councillor Dunsmore, all in favor of adjourning? Opposed, if any? And we're adjourned. Have a great